It began with a scream no one heard. In the stillness of the astral sea, where time forgets to move and corpses drift like stars, a Githyanki knight rode her crimson dragon through the silver tides of infinity. Her armor bore the sigils of Vlakith. Her sword had slain gods. And her mount, Vrekalax the Crimson Howl, had razed dream cities and devoured the brains of lesser dragons. They were war incarnate, beautiful, terrible, and utterly certain of victory. They did not see the Nautiloid, not until it unfolded from unreality like a spider from a skull. Tentacles lanced through the void, barbed with null metal. Psychic torpedoes ruptured thought before they struck flesh. The red dragon screamed, fire blooming in silence, but it was already too late. Its wings withered in a single flash of psionic agony. Its rider tried to shift planes, to call her blade, to flee, but her thoughts turned to honey in her skull. She died not with defiance, but with confusion. And then, the dragon fell. But the mind flayers did not let it drift. They bound its body in coils of thought, reeled it through the rippling firmament, and dragged it, still living, back into the bowels of their waiting ship. The Nautiloid shuddered as the air inside adjusted to the mass of the beast. Chains of memory iron locked its wings. A crown of deep, otherworldly metal was nailed into its skull, each spike a promise of erasure. And then, with a reverence reserved for saints, the elder brain was brought forth. It hovered in its brine, luminous and slow, surrounded by acolytes that had no faces, only mouths. They did not chant. They did not praise. They simply opened the dragon's skull. The brain was exposed, still twitching, still dreaming of flame. And into it, the tadpoles poured. Not one, not dozens, but hundreds. A tide of psionic larvae, burrowing deep into memory and marrow. The Githyanki rider's mind, shattered and discarded, was fed to the pool as incense. The dragon's essence, its fury, its pride, all of it unraveled. What was left was not Vrekalax. What was left was a vessel. And the monarch, the locus upon which Flayer supremacy is built, the elder brain, entered. It slithered through neuron and nerve, claimed the skull cavity not as a conqueror, but as an organ donor. Tendrils weaving through its skull cavity, the elder brain appended to its spine like a fungating tumor. When it opened the dragon's eyes, it did not blink. It remembered. The transformation took 7 days. On the 8th, the beast rose, wings slick with brine, breath fuming with psionic vapor, flesh etched with shifting runes that wept cerebral fluid. The colony knelt, not in worship, but in synchronization. No longer a dragon, no longer a mind flayer. Something between, something worse. The Nautiloid turned toward the material plane, and behind it trailed an echo, not of roar, nor of wings, but of thought. Heavy, alien, unwelcome, the kind of thought that leaves an indelible mark, a mental scar. And thus was born the first elder brain dragon, a corpse reanimated by will alone, a predator of thought, cloaked in wings, a dragon without a soul, a mind without mercy, the crownless tyrant. No union is more vile, no creation more blasphemous, no ambition more profane. When an elder brain, the loathsome neural god of the Illithid hive, finds itself tethered to mortality, either through age, betrayal, or assault, it does not accept death. It plans, and it waits. And if it finds a dragon, injured, dying, broken, the ritual begins. This is not rebirth. This is possession. In an act of desperation twisted into genius, the elder brain sends its larval spawn, its wretched tadpoles, deep into the exposed neural channels of the worm. They do not seek to gestate or transform. They seek to infest, to invade, to wear. The result is not only a merging of mind and might, it is parasitic coronation. The dragon does not return. It is hollowed. Its marrow becomes conduit. Its skull, a throne. The elder brain pulses within the great cranial cavity, like a cancer crowned in bone and scale. Tendrils rooted through muscle and sinew, like roots through a cathedral's crypt. The brain bolted onto its vertebral bodies, like root to tree. What rises from the lair is not a dragon. It is a vessel, a cathedral of aberration, a flying mausoleum of thought and nightmare. And with it, the elder brain becomes unbound. It gains breath again, but this time, that breath is not fire, nor frost, nor storm. It is a psychic scream, a pulse of madness that ruptures will and thought, that propels tadpoles towards their new home, the site of their final, beautiful morphogenesis. It gains wings, not as tools of freedom, but of spread, of seeding, of invasion. It gains fangs and claws, yes, but they are incidental. The true weapon is the mind, amplified through draconic anatomy, alchemical memory, and illithid puppetry. The elder brain dragon is not an apex predator. It is an ark, a colony, a curse on wings. It does not hoard gold. It hoards intellect, souls, secrets. Its lair reeks not of sulfur or treasure, but of brine and rot, the stench of ideas that should never have been thought. And the worst horror? It dreams of flight not for the glory of the skies, but for the liberation of the hive. Where it flies, the elder brain follows. Where it lands, the illithid root. Where it dies, the colony blooms anew. It is not a monster. It is a contingency, a mind's final, crawling triumph over death. And in its shadow, kingdoms fall in silence, their thoughts unraveled before a single word is ever spoken. There was once a comfort, cold but firm, in knowing that the elder brain, tyrant of the mind flayer colony, was bound to its pool. Its reach, vast though it was, remained tethered. Mortals could flee, hide, survive. That comfort is now ash. When a dragon is captured, bound, the process begins. It is not transformation. It is not symbiosis. It is defilement. Tended by a choir of whispering mind flayers, the elder brain is heaved from its vat of brine and placed upon the dragon's exposed spine. It anchors there like a tumor, its mass obscenely fused to the beast's shoulders, its tendrils squirming into the dragon's skull. No anesthesia, no mercy, just thought upon violation. What rises is not a creature. It is a cathedral of desecration. No longer earthbound, the elder brain uses its stolen mount to become more than an overlord. It becomes a commander and a prophet. It entails all the aspects of the grand design. The elder brain dragon is a fortress of flesh, a roving colony upon wings. It radiates psychic dread, the air around it humming with invisible vibrations of contempt. Arcane resonance flickers through its flesh as curse, a psionic taint that shreds logic and memory alike. The breath weapon of the dragon is amplified. Gone is the fire, the frost, the storm. In its place surges a brine mist, a fetid torrent of embryonic fluid and rage. The breath burns and it infects. Mind flayer tadpoles swirl within it like sharks in bloodied water, slithering into mouths, wounds, eye sockets. Where they find flesh, they seed into the minds of the victims. Where they find weakness, they hatch, worming their way into the victims' brainstems. Victims collapse, screaming, then twitch, then change. And that is only the beginning. The form is a perversion of grace. Its wings, once regal, now sag like torn curtains, membranes veined with psychic ichor that drip in silent trails behind it. Whole plates of scale have rotted away, exposing muscle and bone pulsing with unnatural light, the glow of thought unchained. Its jaw no longer ends in teeth alone. Tentacles spill from its maw. curling and twisting with hunger, not for meat, but for minds. Its tail stretches long and segmented, terminating in a bouquet of bone spurs and sucker flesh, a prehensile whip used not for balance, but for grasping skulls. And the head is a true horror. The skull has swollen monstrously, the bone cracked and distended to accommodate the brain's own swelling bulk. The eyes are gone, replaced by twitching sensory nodules, faintly glowing with psionic current. It can no longer blink, and it does not sleep. It listens, always alert. Where once beat a draconic heart now pulses a node of elder brain matter, cradled in stolen ribs, soaked in illithid marrow, infused with magic, torn from the weave by force of will alone. No longer among the true living. This is not death. This is intellect combined to an abomination, a thing that soars not to hunt, but to convert, to overwrite the world, not with fire, but with thought. The breath is the first invitation. What follows is far worse. Unlike chromatic or metallic dragons, elder brain dragons do not seek lairs for greed. They seek silence. Any cave, ruin, or deep cistern will do, provided it is dark, damp, and can hold a brine pool. Within days of claiming a lair, it reshapes the environment with psionic energy. Dreams fracture. Sleep becomes torment. Locals speak only in riddles. Brine leaks from stones, slick with proto-tadpoles that dissolve under sunlight. Gravity shifts, pulling thought downward. Wizards find levitation spells fail, while the air itself feels heavier with memory. Cerebral fungi grow in clusters, releasing spores that transmit the dragon's thoughts into nearby minds. And in the deepest pit of this lair floats a secondary brain cluster, a fragment of the elder brain's core, guarded by psychic force fields and loyal thralls. Some dragons go further. They enslave a city and replace leaders with thralls and call their lair a palace. Its courtiers are brainwashed champions, half-ceramorphosed wretches, and bards who now sing in deep speech. It is not a lair, it is a hive. There is no reproduction, there is only replication. The elder brain dragon exists as a singular expression of a colony's desire to become unkillable. It does not mate, it does not raise children, but it creates more tadpoles. And worse, it may infect other dragons with the same process. In rare cases, it has even split its consciousness across several dragons, creating a multi-bodied hive, a hydra of minds. But it is not immortal. It can be slain. Yet in death, it sometimes rises again, not as a Dracolich, but as a psionic echo, a memory too large to die, haunting its lair, whispering to the weak-willed until they rebuild its form. To witness an elder brain dragon in combat is to observe a catastrophe with wings, a dread intellect, puppeteering flesh, not for victory, but for violation. It does not roar. It does not charge. It simply arrives, carried by silence and dread, as if summoned by the collective death of reason. Its approach is patient, almost reverent, circling high above the battlefield with grotesque majesty, wings sagging like wet funeral shrouds. The air shivers in its presence, heavy with thought not your own. Then it exhales, not fire, not frost, but brine, a cone of glistening psychic sludge, thick with embryonic nightmares. Within swim larvae, blind and ravenous, drawn to warmth and thought. The breath does not scorch, it undoes. Flesh sloughs, memories burst, minds collapse inward like dying stars. Those who fall do not rest, they twitch, rise, and return changed. This is the dragon's first gift, not death, but conversion. As confusion spreads like wildfire through the ranks, the worm descends with dreadful grace. It does not claw wildly or lash in rage. Its movements are surgical, Tentacles unfurl from beneath its neck and maw, each tipped with barbed hunger. They seek out the wise, the devout, the defiant, not to slay, but to harvest. And when it wraps around a foe, it does not merely squeeze, it reads. Each tendril pulses with psionic rhythm, prying open the soul like a book left out in the rain. Names are forgotten, prayers misremembered, faces of loved ones dissolve like ink. Then comes the voice. You do not understand your fear. Allow me to explain it to you. It speaks not aloud, but inside, a whisper that comes from behind your own thoughts, dripping with cold certainty. It offers surrender, not as mercy, but as invitation. Sometimes, its chosen quarry collapses not from injury, but from the weight of its attention. If its enemies cluster, it rises above them again, shedding lightless ichor across the wind. If one dares resist too boldly, it isolates them, dragging them aloft into the air, where all below may watch their undoing. It does not slaughter for pleasure. It harvests with purpose. Even as the battle rages, the elder brain dragon is not alone. Every soul broken, every body stolen, every mind unraveled feeds the network, a hive of illithids that pulses with growing rhythm and come to the monarch's aid. One can feel it in the spine, in the marrow, a subtle beat, a second heartbeat that is not your own. It does not feed on blood. It feeds on you, your story, your struggle, your sense of self. And when the battlefield lies silent, when no scream is left unspoken, it does not roar in triumph. It hovers, still as death, as if waiting for something else to arrive. Perhaps it is waiting for you. It does not sleep. It does not dream. It waits. Somewhere in the folds between planes, where memory curdles and time folds in on itself like wet paper, the elder brain dragon hovers. Its wings beat not for flight, but for pressure, to stir psionic currents, to scatter thought like dandelion ash. It circles ruins not yet fallen. It studies cities that have not yet screamed. Its subjects hover beside, instruments of its desecrated will, and it listens. Because somewhere, someone is thinking too loudly. It has no name, not truly. The dragon's name is gone, devoured, consumed, rewritten in runes that only pulse when someone forgets their own mother's voice. The elder brain has no need of names. It has functions. It is not a tyrant. It is not a god. It is proof. Proof that thought is a weapon sharper than tooth. That memory can be flayed. That dragons, those ancient beasts of legacy and fire, can be hollowed, repurposed, and worn like funeral masks. And the colonies now stir. Beneath the crusts of worlds, beneath collapsed temples and poisoned oceans, the hive calls. The wings of the crownless tyrant stir them to wakefulness. Its breath, thick with larval intention, coats battlefields and broken minds. And with every mind devoured, with every skull opened, with every name forgotten, the dragon grows quieter. It does not roar, it remembers. A stillness walks with it now, a silence that follows not behind, but ahead. The kind of silence that rots prayers before they reach lips. The kind of silence that dreams of itself. Some scholars say it is still out there. Others say it has always been here. Not a creature, but a symptom. A final phase of intellect. And knowledge becomes infection. And so, if ever you find yourself near ruins that do not remember their names, if ever your thoughts slow in your skull, like molasses drawn through bone, if ever the sky weeps not rain, but memory, then it is already too late. For the crownless tyrant is not coming. It has simply chosen to think through you. And you will not know the moment you stop being you. Only that something else has begun.